Robinhood is, of course, in the mix now. Could they be sparking a bull run that's starting to happen today? We're going to break it down. I've got a special guest also joining me. Before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, and that is OKX. One of the cool things you guys can do while the market is volatile is get into some of the earning potential over there on stablecoins. And the way you can do that is you can do it in USDG, RLUSD, both paying significant amount of APY. So check it out. Go over to OKX.com. and start earning. Of course, no subscriptions. You don't have to pay anything to get this done, and no lockups. They don't hold your assets. This is a great way to get started. And when you're ready to start trading, if you're not, knock it out right there with OKX.com using our link down below. So check it out. Great app, by the way, too. Super app out there. I want to bring in Evan Aldo today because we've got a huge opportunity here, I think, where maybe the bottom may be coming to an end. We'll see how that goes. How are you, Evan?
I'm doing well. Great to be in Miami. So, yeah.
Hey, we've got a lot of action in the market. One of the launches this week, actually today, was a project that we talked about on a previous video. I think it was on the most recent video we posted called SK Hynix. And this is a chip maker that we kind of broke down yesterday. I wanted to get your opinion. Actually, let me go to a clip real quick because this will explain a little bit more why this is going to be so big for the AI sector and how it could handle a little bit of rotation of capital. Take a look.
It's extremely oversubscribed. Finding an opening price for this stock is going to be tricky. It's going to be a massive IPO. It'll take up a lot of the oxygen in today's market, Nicole.
This would be the second largest share sale ever after SpaceX. SK Hynix is bigger, cheaper, and closer to NVIDIA. It's cheaper than the American rival in terms of markets, almost 6 times forward earnings versus Micron 7, so not that much, but still, a little cheaper. That discount existed because U.S. investors couldn't easily buy the Korean shares. Part of the Korean build-out specifically, the company says, could reach $720 billion. None of that supply, though, arrives before late 2027, which keeps the memory shortage going and record prices high intact for now.
The revenue number I thought was a mistake that I read. So it's tripled to $65 billion, and it's going to triple to $235 billion this year.
Yeah. That's at the end of this year.
I saw that and I said that's got to be a mistake. And these were like this run-of-the-mill RAM.
So now dream comes true.
All right, so there you go, run-of-the-mill RAM, which of course everybody understands is driving the AI craze. And of course now it's bleeding over into almost every electronic out there. Apple, of course, jumped their prices up 25% on all their devices due to this RAM injection. And this is the problem right now. Globally, all these companies are scrambling, which is why you see this launch right here. I'm showing the chart here, Evan. I know it's early on this. I don't anticipate that you would chart this, but this, of course, is the 1 minute. This launch was today. But if you look at this versus Micron, that would be a good example, even though it's much bigger than Micron, but it has a competitive marketplace to Micron. Do you feel like you are still in on semiconductors or not? Would you buy a new stock like this right now?
Probably not. Generally, because there's been a lot of big momentum shifts on these, chip stocks and all that against Bitcoin. So I think that Bitcoin, all of these have outperformed Bitcoin like crazy in the first half of this year.
Right.
But I think you may see that momentum shift in the second half of this year. And I think that now you got Apple, they already raised prices. I think a lot of this stuff is already kind of priced in. So I think that, I don't think this is a bad buy, but I think that a lot of these IPOs, 6 to 8 months after they IPO is the magic kind of time to get in. So I think the second half of this year, I think Bitcoin's going to be able to outperform Micron, outperform SanDisk, outperform this one as well. And then potentially early next year, you may see another shift back towards the semiconductors. So right now, I would just buy Bitcoin instead. So,
yeah, Bitcoin. Speaking of that, CryptoQuant says Bitcoin's recent rebound is a bear market recovery, not a trend reversal. So this is something that everybody's kind of been pointing at. Is this a fake out or is this a full-blown trend recovery? Where do you stand right now on Bitcoin as you chart it for us?
So when I look at my Bitcoin chart right here, you're getting, pardon all the lines here, but you're getting kind of this bull div. See, this is forming here in your 2 weeks, similar to kind of what you saw on the bottom in December of 2022. So very similar situation. So if we do confirm that, and that may happen by the end of this month, I think you might be able to have an earlier bottom. And obviously, if you don't count the FTX capitulation here, that June bottom would have been your bottom in 2022. Bitcoin's always bottomed a little bit earlier. So I would disagree with that view that this is just a relief rally and not the bottom. I think this could be much more. I think this definitely could be the bottom. Bitcoin looks great right now for the month of July. Your main technical target that I've been looking at is right at 74K. And I think you might be able to hit that by the end of this month. So I think July is going to be really good here. I'm excited for 74K. I think after the 74K, you may see some type of correction back to retest 65 in August, September. But then I think Q4 is going to be good. And I'm excited for Q4. I think if all goes well, obviously I don't have a crystal ball, but if all goes well in Q4, by end of this year, I'm looking at 92K, a more of elongated, kind of version of the sometime in Q4, 90K, 92K. I think that's a good goal by the end of the year. So I'm excited. I'm optimistic. Right. I think things are going to go well.
So obviously you are very bullish here on Bitcoin, especially going into the fall. Bitcoin fell to its second most oversold level in history on the monthly chart. So the only time it was lower was December 22. We showed this yesterday. This could be setting up, to your point, this could be setting up to a very interesting fall. My question would be this. Do you think, because I've had a couple analysts on here recently that have said they think, and one of them was Standard Chartered analyst who thinks Bitcoin could hit 100K by the end of the year. Would you agree with that, or do you think it's going to take longer?
I think that's more of a 2027 goal, sometime in Q1, Q2 of next year, potentially. I think that's a little bit too optimistic, but I'd rather be wrong and wealthier. So I'll say
wrong and wealthier. I like it.
Yeah.
Evan, what do you make of this right here? We are seeing rate hike odds rising right in front of us. It's a 51% chance now that the Fed rate hike before 2027 is going to happen. The likelihood is now growing. And we've got more dissent that is pushing back against holding. What happens if Kevin Warsh comes in the fall and gives a rate hike? How much would that impact crypto?
I don't think it would be good. It would be more in your bearish case that other people are talking about, potentially a lower low somewhere in the 50s, maybe even high 40s for Bitcoin. But I don't think that's going to happen because the general pattern that we've been seeing is you stop the ceasefire and then you kind of factor in the price of rate hikes. You get all that fear, and now there's a slight favorite for it, 50-50. But then usually a couple weeks or a month goes by, and then you talk more about a ceasefire, and then you get less odds of kind of rate hikes. I think that oil's is going to probably stay sideways enough or not come up enough to really force a rate hike. I don't think we're going to get a rate hike. I'm going to go on the more optimistic path there, and I don't think we're going to get a rate hike. So yeah.
All right, so no rate hike on your side. There's a lot of people pushing against that right now. A lot of market makers too that think this is going to happen and are pricing. Some are, of course, are trying to price this in. Let me go into another area that will or could have impact on crypto, and that, of course, is clarity. You've got 29 days is going to decide whether America gets clear crypto rules or not. We've got a Senate returning from recess. Then you got August, which is pretty much where the Senate's done. So no time to waste here. If you look at that, then you look at this big departure, which is Paul Grewal, chief counsel over at Coinbase. This is a major departure. And I don't know if this was a asked departure or if this was saying, hey, I've done my job and I'm moving on. I don't know. We've had Paul on before. And then if you look at this, Clarity Act now draft nears Senate release. There's a new version of the Digital Market Clarity Act, so this could be released as early as next week. I wonder if there's going to be some things in there that really start to shake things up on the idea of what we've been looking at, which is the issue for what's going on with the Trump administration and his family on ethics. So I don't know. What would be your odds right now on Clarity? There's the countdown.
Well, I was looking at the betting odds on Polymarket on it. It was a 40% chance of it passing by the end of the year. That was by the end of the year. It's probably, if it doesn't pass in the 27 days, the odds are pretty slim that it'll pass in, the lame duck session or, after those 27 days. I'm going to take the slightly more optimistic route. I'm going to say they might be able to pull it off. Maybe, just maybe, they could pull it off. before. But the thing is, if they do pull it off, it's usually kind of a price gets factored in. So things I think will rally. And it's interesting because that's the 27 days, that's early August. I think we're going to rally into that deadline. And then whether or not the news is good or bad at the end of that deadline, the market's going to correct a little bit. So It doesn't matter in that aspect, but I'm going to stay optimistic. I think they might be able to pull it off. I don't know though.
It's interesting you say that because there is an angle on this that actually might prove Polymarket wrong. I want to play a clip for you because you might agree with someone here. Take a look.
I'm saying vote-wise, I'm like 99% sure we're going to have a vote. As far as passage, I've been at about 60%. Some of that's just gut instinct from years of, working in the Senate, being around legislative process, seeing what's happening. The right people are in the room talking about this. So that really does make me feel more confident that we're in the right direction. But whenever people say to me, well, that's not what I'm reading in Polymarket or Kalshi. Well, Congress just about maybe 2 months ago actually banned all of congressional staff from being on prediction markets. So I actually think there might be a correlation here between when Congress said, staff and members can no longer be on prediction markets, and when the prediction markets started to not track what I think is kind of everybody else's opinion in Washington as to where we are with clarity. So I think they're wrong on this account. We're going to have a vote, and I feel like we're gonna get there on passage.
Spicy takes. Sorry, Rana, go ahead.
Okay, so one thing I would say, so to your point, she agrees with you that it's likely that this could go through. My point is this: there is no way you are stopping DC insiders from Polymarket. That's just not going to happen. These guys are professional inside traders. So they are out there. Yeah, I don't know. But the point is that it's kind of on the bubble right now. So I'm still on the fence because I just don't trust DC, to be honest with you, to get this across the line. Which is the issue. Right now, though, one thing I do trust is what's happening over on Robinhood Chain. And this is a big deal. Robinhood Chain just flipped Hyperliquid in DEX volume. This is unprecedented. And they've done it in less than 10 days? So you look at this, and I can imagine Robinhood is scrambling, trying to pull something off in terms of trying to deal with this market volume, and probably a surprise in general. When you look at the Hood stock as a whole, do you think the rest of the investment community really understands what's happening here?
Yeah, I mean, it's wild, very unprecedented, like you said. The Hood stock, I've always been generally, more bullish on it, in this rally upward. You kind of got your correction. It kind of has followed Bitcoin to a certain extent here. And I think generally you should be good. I could see it being more, sideways crabbish. You bounce around into maybe the end of this year. And I think sometime 2027, 2028, it'll probably break up to 200, and then hopefully 300 would be my goal. So I think it could do pretty similar to Bitcoin over the next 2-3 years. A 2 or 3x, I think, is a pretty good bet for this. That's what I look at. I mean, I do think it'll kind of consolidate a little bit. Maybe it'll come down to retest 80 at some point, but it generally still looks strong. Money flow over here in your 2-day looks good. Some may say that some may be already calling for 200. That could be like probably the most optimistic scenario by the end of the year, 200. We just got to see if it can break through, 134. So yeah, I'm bullish on Robinhood. Definitely a long-term
200. What percentage growth would that be from here?
That's about a double.
So, I mean, that's aggressive in the next 5 months.
Well, it's high, but if you can break above there, I don't think it's going to hit 200 by the end of the year, but sometime next year, next 2-3 years, 200 to 300.
So you like this stock? You like this? You would hold this?
I do. I think Robinhood's going to do well, man. Yeah, I mean, it is a big, if I had to guess what's going to happen, I think it's going to be like this. It's going to reject from like 140, 150, come back down to 100 or something. It's volatile. And then sometime like next year, probably you'll finally rally up to your
rips into 200.
Yeah.
Okay. One thing though that could change the window here, because remember, you look at the market trading on sentiment, and sentiment usually drives memes, and we've already started to see that on the Robinhood chain here with CashCat. This was crazy, just showing an example of how a trader could have basically left about $3.5 million on the table. leaving too early. And that's the kind of thing that does happen with CashCat. For those of you who do not know, and we'll talk about it here in a second, but I want to play a clip because this will kind of give you a rundown on it. Take a look.
CashCat on Robinhood is going parabolic, running from 10 million to 75 mil in the past 2 hours after Vlad, the CEO and co-founder of Robinhood, followed the token on X. The lore behind this coin is that CashCat was the original name for the Robinhood app, which you can see Vlad quote tweeting this post with an image of the CashCat back in April of 2021.
I have so much money in this dumbass CashCat that now if Vlad lists this after I sell, I can't even imagine what I'll do. But I hate this. I'm sitting here waiting for Vlad to do something and he's never going to do it.
You think they'll list it? No, not a chance.
I don't know. It kind of makes them look too much like a casino. I feel like that's kind of the problem. So if I were them, I wouldn't. But my guess here is that, if I was a gambling man, if I wanted to gamble on this, I would buy right now and I would sell at the end of this month. I would bet that July is going to be a good month for this. I would buy this dip potentially. You're 23% down, and I would hope that, something like this happens and you double or triple from here into the end of this month, following this kind of trajectory, which I think is possible. I wouldn't want to hold this.
I love your optimism there, Evan. You're pitching me a meme coin that's going to double.
No, I'm not going
to
buy this. I don't think. But yeah, if I was a gambling man, I would hold for 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay, all right. Well, memes are now alive and well on the Robinhood chain. So we've seen that before with Solana, and we saw what happened to Solana. Absolutely exploded. So ETH being the underlying mechanism here across all of what's happening on Robinhood. And you have Tom Lee kind of jumping into it right here. Interesting comments from former Bank of America guy. And he says ETH signs of a tactical bottom, holding it around 1690 to 17. Needs a decisive rally to 18. Do you agree with that? 1850 to 1876, that would be the rally that it would need to get back to maybe an open window around 2100?
Yeah, Avi, the big thing, the big thing would be breaking above 1900. I think that's a done deal. 2000 is very likely here. This looks great. Okay. Money flow's coming up. Bitcoin going up to 70K would be equivalent to like this going up to 2000. So that's not very hard to pump up to 2000 here. I think by the end of this month, potentially, if Bitcoin hits 74K, this could get up to 2,300, which I think is a good goal there. After 2,300, I think you're going to see like an August kind of pullback or something. Probably back to maybe 1,900, nothing too crazy. And then into end of year, what I would hope for Q4, high 2000s, maybe up to 3,000 by end of year potentially, if all goes well. So I'm optimistic on ETH. I think ETH looks really good right now. So yeah.
All right, so winning on ETH right now. Do you feel like we have hit the bottom? Is that your position right now?
I hope we did.
We're going to pull back?
Yeah, I really hope ETH hit the bottom, because if it didn't hit the bottom and you go back to the April of 2025 lows here, that's bad. That's not good, because there's no forward momentum here. This is like I don't want this under like 1,400. Like if it loses those, I don't think there's. It's probably not going to make a new all-time high in the next bull run, unfortunately, if it loses those areas. But I'm optimistic right now, and an ETH on versus its Bitcoin pair. Look at that nice momentum shift on your 2-week here, money flow coming up, so making a higher low. Fingers crossed. Let's be optimistic. I think ETH should have bottomed, hopefully.
Yeah, you've got Hayden kind of agreeing with you right there. I can't believe I'm the one who has to tell you ETH appears to be money on the Robinhood chain right now, and it's the base pair for trading, which is intriguing because this is only going to be good for ETH. So it's burning ETH right now on the L1 to pay data storage fees, which is our Arbitrum. So all this opportunity here right now for ETH. Then you got what's happening with Circle. It just seems like the narrative is right for ETH right now. Everything is coming together, Evan. Where do you think this could go on an all-time high in the next bull run for ETH? So,
that's very hard. It's, let's just focus on, the big place that everybody's hoped for last time was around, 6,000 to 7,400, these areas. So if we were to map this out, by 2029 or end of 2028, my goal would be 7,000, hopefully, a nice new all-time high. If you want to be really, really optimistic, maybe 10 or 11,000, but there's a lot of roadblocks and plenty of stuff we got to deal with. We adjusted for inflation. We didn't even make a new all-time high since November of 2021. So that's an issue, but I think ETH is a good play right now, definitely.
Another one we're watching very closely that obviously is related to this is Uniswap. Uniswap now, TVL on Robinhood app chain, has surpassed 30 million, so they're on the move. This is a chart to watch. If you look at Uniswap, this is one that we're holding, and we continue to look at this chart. It has been performing pretty well, along with things like Jupiter, et cetera. Explain to me what you think Uniswap could do maybe over the next 6 months.
So yeah, I mean, the next 6 months looks good, man. I mean, it's, when you look at this area, just a nice kind of bubble pop pattern, and then you're kind of jumping up. So into end of year, $5 to $7, right here, we got 560 to this big area right here. And this is the price that it really has been at for the past like 5 years now, essentially, this just middle $7 price. From a long-term technical perspective, this thing's been in a bear market for the last 5 years, so that's not really good. And most things that have been in a bear market for that long usually don't make new all-time highs. I'm not saying it can't make new all-time highs, but you definitely got to be careful. But into the end of the year, I think it'll do pretty well. Hopefully mid sevens, I would hope for. So yeah.
Circle is receiving their final U.S. approval. This will establish them as a crypto-focused trust bank. So you've got Circle pretty much dominating this. Of course, plays into the ETH component. And there's an opportunity here, I think, also that kind of flows into this that I'll play a clip for you. But when you see Circle getting a bank, we know that you've got Paxos and also Ripple in the running. I'm kind of curious, out of the three, Paxos, Ripple, Circle, which one do you think actually launches a bank? Not the license, gets the license, because most of these have already kind of moved in that position. Which one actually do you think launches first?
Tough to say, man. It's either going to be Ripple or Circle, I would think, right? Yeah. One of those. Maybe Circle, because the news and the hype and all that. It's very tough to say. What do you think, Paul? Any ideas on that? I wonder.
I think Ripple's got an inside track on it, but that's just, But Circle is getting some very good news, and I think they're also strategically aligned very well. And they're one or two moves away from maybe outflanking Ripple, and that is something that I think Garlinghouse is probably watching right now.
Yeah, so when you look at Circle right here, this is like a very low risk, high reward opportunity, hitting a major point, kind of the inception point here from June of 2025. Mid 60s, I think, is great for this. And this could run up, potentially double from here, run all the way back up to that 100 mark. So I think there's a lot of potential here. If it loses $60, I'd be less optimistic. But right now, looking good.
Yeah. Well, timing could be right for them as well. Let's jump over to Aave real quick. You can pull the chart up. Before we do that, though, I want to show you something that they're launching, which is the Aave app. And there's a lot of benefits to this. There's a huge amount of perks that you can do within this new app. Let's go to that clip.
The TLDR is that we're right around the corner. Aave app is almost here. We already have 50 founding beta users. Aave app will be launching very shortly, within the next few weeks. It comes with some incredible innovations, brand new balance protection program, Aave accounts, which is going to allow us to vertically integrate the entire system and really minimize the amount of costs at the infrastructure level so that we can surface as much APY to the end user.
I have access. Estonia has access. It's fully worth the wait. I can promise you that. So.
All right, there you have Hayden kind of showing. This is going to be a big deal for Aave if they can really pull this off. I think the key there will be how much, onboarding they can handle to be able to grow the app size. When you look at the chart, though, this has been one of those that has really suffered. Where does it go from here?
I mean, yeah, it really, a lot of these things, like I mentioned on Uniswap, I mean, it's technically still been in a bear market since 2021. So that's what it has going against it. But it does look really good, for the next 4 to 6 months into the end of the year. Nice momentum shift right here. You're getting a jump. I mean, it can easily run back up to 170 potentially, maybe even 260 if all goes well, which would be a little over a double. There's a lot that can happen. If we look at previous rallies here, something like this from the same area, yeah, by end of year, 160 would be a good guess. So I think there's potential. It looks pretty good for the next 6 months, yeah.
News on Solana's ecosystem. You have Backpack launching their first 24/7 brokerage for U.S. equities. This has gone live. They were also the company that was approved in MiCA, which was amazing. when you consider what is happening within the Solana ecosystem, overall, how would you position Solana versus Ethereum right now? If you were investing and you only had to go with one, what do you think?
Oh man, I mean that's tough. That's tough. I mean, it depends how much risk you want to take. So they both look good right now. They both look really good. Solana probably should be able to jump to $100 relatively soon, maybe even by the end of this month, sometime there. If you wanted to, I mean, the answer to that question, I mean, ETH versus Solana, or excuse me, Solana versus ETH, getting a nice momentum shift right here. And Solana has outperformed ETH, for the past 3 years, essentially. So if you're following momentum, this probably would be the choice to take, but be careful. I mean, in the short term, we are bleeding against ETH at the moment, but I think it should continue forward. So, I mean, I wouldn't just buy one, but, I hold more ETH than Solana personally, but I do think there's a good shot that Sol can outperform ETH. So, yeah.
All right, so there you go. And you got to remember, too, this will be a battle, too, in terms of just what's happening within the Robinhood chain, which will continue, I think, to push more availability and most likely more companies and projects building on Robinhood chain, which will be intriguing. Speaking of building, though, on chains, you've got Jito, of course, JTX launching very soon. This is a big deal. We're going to have them on to talk about this. But when JTX launches, this could expose a lot more liquidity into Solana in general. When you look at Jito in general, how would you, first of all, would this be a token? Like if you think about what Jupiter has been able to do so far, a very high performing token, Jito kind of in the same place. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, big momentum shift that we've seen since February. It's come up a lot, consolidating right now, which is good, kind of a healthy correction. I would hope this comes down a little bit farther and gets a nice bounce off of like 45 or 50, but I think there's a decent shot, and keep in mind, this one gets riskier, but there's a decent shot that if you can keep the momentum, you would eventually get back to up to, $1.80, which is like a 3x from here. So, if you can hold, generally break above and hold 70 cents, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to jump up to $1.80. So there's some potential. I do think this is a little bit riskier than, a lot of other things, but a lot of potential here, definitely.
I like it. Okay, very cool. Just to be clear, because you had a number for July for Bitcoin that I wanted to make sure and confirm. Can we go back to the Bitcoin chart? Because you had a number that was about 75K, I think you said?
74K. Okay. So one technical target's at 74. I think we'll at least get it to 70. That's very highly likely. 74 is slightly less likely, but I think that's well within the realm of possibilities by the end of this month. 74K. So yeah.
All right, Evan Aldo, thank you so much for coming in today. Great to chart with you again. Glad to have you back in the States. So we'll probably have you in studio soon. I know you're still traveling, but we'll get you in studio. Okay.
Yep. Looking forward to it. Always honored talking to you, Paul. Thanks so much.
If you like this video, hit like and subscribe, drop a comment down below, and also join our free private member group. The link is in the description.